ain't no chip on my shoulders. I'm just simply saying if I ain't your cup of tea, then drink soda. That's right, it's finally me and I'm bolder. So them counterfeit relationships, I won't lose sleep. Finally me, for real. Why can't my purpose is good to be free for real? Knowing that all things they are working, I finally see myself. I know that I am working. I ain't even scratched the surface. He be blessing me on purpose. Finally, never been afraid to voice your opinion. What if they don't like what I suggest? What if they get offended? But ain't it crazy how fear can misguide your true intentions when you can be the very person in position someone else for winning? You be feeling like your
come on in, y'all. We got a good one today.
If I ain't got it, how in the world I'ma tell you to get it? See, but we all play a part, baby. We all different. You just gotta decide what you gonna do with what you've been given. See, I learned that being humble show don't mean timid. And I learned that if you stumble, you can still finish.
What?
See, you ain't got to hide behind nobody. Stop pretending. If you really want it, then get off your behind and get it.
What?
So what if they don't see it? That don't mean he ain't give you business.
What's up? Let me know where y'all checking in from. Come on.
What you got? This beautiful baby, start to finish. Differently, I wonder if they created and finally me for real.
IG is in the house. Facebook is in the house. Hey, everybody. Hey, thank y'all so very much for joining me for Finally Me for Real on Friday. FM, the number 4, the number R, the letter R, or you can just spell it all out. That's the hashtag. Make sure y'all using that hashtag FM, the number 4, all right, and the R at the end, or you can spell that real out. All right, this is where we have real conversation with real people, and thanks for joining us. Don't forget, you guys, to make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, Finally Me, the number 4 Real. All right, on the YouTube channel, make sure you subscribe to that. Download my brand new app. All right, my brand new app. Just go ahead and download that. But let me know where you guys. Jamaica, New York is in the house. All right, listen, start some watch party. Holler at your friend. Let them know we started our Finally Me for Real conversation on today. And I want to give a shout out to all of those who are battling with sickle cells, because today's annual sickle cells day. And you guys know that's dear to my heart because we have twins in our house, Cam and Chloe, and he's a trooper. He battles with sickle cell, and I'm just amazed how he handles it. And so I'm so appreciative to God for just blessing him. He's just been a blessing. And you guys see my t-shirt there. It's better to be 6 feet apart than 6 feet under. Hello, somebody. Let's be 6 feet apart and not 6 feet under. And you can check out all of my Finally Me sportswear, my workout clothes, all that stuff on the Finally Me swear.com. I got some new products out there. Check it out. All of it is going to a worthy cause. It's for my philanthropist work. Is helping those who are in need. And next month I'm doing a virtual summer camp for kids. Lord Jesus, pray for me. A virtual summer camp for kids. It's called SMART, and SMART is an acronym. The S is for scripture, the M is for math, the A is for art, the R is for relationship, and the T is for technology and talent. So everything you buy, trust me, it's going to help these little rugrats. All right, because we don't want them to be left behind. But I'm so glad that you guys decide to join me. Let me know where you guys are checking in from. And today it's a good one, a good one. I don't even know how to introduce this brother. You know, we can say we started from the bottom and now we are, I'm saying we were young and now we're old and we've never seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread, however it is. This guy is my man. He's my brother in Christ. Years ago, we would be at Ebenezer Ailey together. We owe some young people some money because we were preaching like We were preaching like we were out of stock. Hey, give it up for Pastor Tony Lee. What's up?
What's up, sis? Great to see you. Great to be with you.
Oh man, thanks for joining me. I'm so honored and so appreciative of you being a part of this amazing platform. I tell people that I lost the pulpit, but I gained a platform.
That's amazing. It's amazing how God hooks it up.
Absolutely. I like that. I like what you got going on here.
It's all the pandemic. It's all the pandemic. I got the pandemic bush. The pandemic gave me a shape up.
I understand. And listen, y'all know how we do it. We'll have a conversation with Pastor Lee, and then you guys can throw in some question. You can throw in any question. I already told him, I said, they'll ask questions that they're not even supposed to ask, but he said that there's nothing off limit. Good to see Mississippi. All right, I see you guys from Mississippi. Let us know where you guys are checking in from. So, man, how you doing? How you doing?
Man, I'm holding up. It's great to see you. It's great to be here with you. I got tickled when you asked me to come on. I mean, this is great. I'm tickled to see you doing your thing. But I'm chilling. I'm holding up.
Yeah, and how's the family?
The family is great. My parents have been on quarantine. We've had them locked in the house since the beginning of March. But they're doing wonderful, and we're over there all the time with them, not touching them or anything. But we still have Sunday dinner, but we have it in the driveway. It's socially distanced and spread apart, but we're still able to be with them. But they're doing great, and my brother's doing good too. And I'll tell them all you ask.
Please. For those of you who've never heard of Pastor Tony Lee, this guy is phenomenal. Tell them about your ministry. I call it is the Go-Go Church. Just tell them how you even started from the club and where you are. Tell them about it.
The Community of Hope AME Church, we started over 14 years ago now, in the Legend nightclub. We started a nightclub that was a fully functioning nightclub. They would party till 4 a.m. We would come in and have church at 10 and 12. And they would still have strip nights on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So we couldn't have Bible study there on Wednesdays. We had to have Bible study across the street and tell our folks that they went over there with some ones. We knew it wasn't their offering for Bible study. But no, it was a wonderful place. And so, and we left there, ended up in the Iverson Mall. And yeah, it's a place where everyone has a chance. It's a place where we feel free in worship. Our worship, you can get a little bit of everything. You can go from praise and worship to a hardcore crank. We got a full go-go band up in there. You may get a rapper in there sometimes. Any given Sunday, you'll get whatever you get. But the Holy Ghost will be in the building. And so you can go straight from a go-go pocket beat all the way to I surrender all, and us laying hands at the altar. But it's just how the Lord will move. And so, yeah, so we're excited about what God is doing.
Oh, man, let me say, I was so proud of you. You did an amazing job with pastors and leaders.
Oh, wow. Thank you. That was crazy. And I want to thank you, sis, because literally when I got the call from Bishop Jakes, that you were one of the first folks to reach out and be like, Lee, look, here's what you got to do. And I really do appreciate you, sis, because you looked out.
Absolutely. Hey, one of my song that years ago, Charge It to the Game. If you heard that song, okay, you know that song.
Yeah.
And there's a passage in Proverbs that talks about these different generations, a generation who hates their mother, a generation who despise this or that. And I preached that years ago, talking about Charge It to the Game. And we are in an unbelievable, I call it a season, an unbelievable season of what I call the perfect storm. So here's the two perfect storm. I'll let you elaborate. The first storm is what happened with George Floyd. Okay. The second storm, I should say that's the second storm. The first storm is the pandemic.
Right.
I said, Lee, out of all these prophets who told us about 2020, nobody told us about the pandemic.
And there was a whole lot of folks saying all kinds of stuff. But yeah, nobody let us know what was happening.
I know. So you got the pandemic, you got George Floyd, and then you got this whole systemic racism, and then we got an election coming up.
Right.
Like we are in this perfect storm where all of these things are colliding. And I know you're doing good during the pandemic. Where were you when you saw the video with George Floyd? And how did it make you feel as a Black man?
Wow. So interestingly, I was at home. and I saw it on the internet. I saw it like on Instagram or something. And I think there's a challenge. One of the challenges of being Black in America is that you can just be in a regular moment doing something regular, just on the internet looking at funny stuff, and all of a sudden you see somebody killed.
Yeah.
And you're watching a crime scene, and you're watching a homicide. And I think it was that kind of a piece. And so one, it made me sick to my stomach. Two, it just grieved me. It just grieved me tremendously. I think those two. Three, well, and I think the grieving, when I say it grieved me, it didn't just grieve me like it made me, but I actually grieved. I mean, I went in grief. It was like he was me or a family member. And so that was a challenge. And then of course the anger that came up. But I think a piece of it was I just get tired of what it means to it should not be natural for our social media to have death scenes on it. That just shouldn't be natural, and so that was what it did for me, and that was how it caught me.
Wow. I when I looked at that thing, I mean, I can believe what I was seeing, and I said to myself, not again. What did you say to yourself?
Yeah, about the same thing. Well, one, here we go again. But two, it was the piece about organizing. I'm an organizer by nature. And was really hoping that we could get some real organizing done around it. And so a piece of it was watching kind of what happened. Then the second piece I was watching a lot of the reaction that happened in Minneapolis, and especially when some of the protests started happening and some of the insurrection started happening. And at that moment, then it was really after that first night of watching Minneapolis burn, then it was really reaching out and seeing who we had on the ground there. And so I was calling AME bishops to see, I reached out to Bishop John White to see who, because I knew that was his district. Hey, Bishop, who's your pastor on the ground? And he recommended me to a presiding elder that was there, and that presided. And so then myself and Bishop Frank Reed actually had a call earlier on a text thread. Me, him, Pastor Jamal Bryant, we were all on the text thread together, some other folks. And myself and Bishop Reed, we sent about 10,000 surgical masks to that presiding elder, because we called the presiding elder to say, hey, what do you need? And she said, well, with all this protesting and we're still in pandemic, we need masks. And so we immediately just sent her 10,000 masks and had those there for a couple of days. And then we're just on the calls, just navigating kind of what it meant to be in the midst of this situation. One of the things, and you talked about kind of all these things we're navigating, and I say that we're in the intersection of pandemic and protest. The thing, though, that gives me hope is in the midst of pandemic and protest, we were anchored by Pentecost. And so it all happened, and Pentecost Sunday kind of caught us in the middle of all of that. And I tell folks that the church is built for pandemic.
Yes.
That the Christian church thrives in pandemic, that there's been times of epidemic and pandemic in which the Christian church has grown the most. It was during the Black Death, the bubonic plague, that the Christian church grew the most, because that's when we're able to show that we're Christians, not because of our cars, not because of our houses. We spent too much time in this last couple of decades trying to show we were Christians by our houses, or trying to show we were Christians by our cars, or trying to show we were Christians by the color at the bottom of our shoes. But the reality is they shall know that we are Christians by our love. And that's how Christians can show up. And so for me, in the middle of all this, is how do we hit these pain points and really show what Christianity is all about?
Yeah, I mean, it's so crazy when I looked at it in the middle of the, like you said, it's Pentecost, which, you know, in that Acts 1:8, you will receive power and you're going to be my witnesses. I have this sermon that I'm preaching on. The Lord gave it to me a couple of weeks ago when I looked at Lot, who leaves Sodom and Gomorrah, right? And Lot leaves Sodom and Gomorrah with his family. And for some strange reason, the wife looks back. And so the title of my sermon is Frozen. Okay. I think we are at a crossroad as the church. Either we're going to keep moving forward,
Right.
It's gonna be frozen.
Right. Right.
All
Right.
right. And so what is your take on churches who like, oh gosh, this is the worst time? I think it's the most exciting time to be alive. In spite of all the stuff, I wouldn't want to be any other place.
It is an amazing time. And one of the things that we learn also out of pandemics is pandemics historically are when innovations happen.
Yeah.
Pandemics are when great businesses are born. Pandemics are when people who can be innovative enough to look and to be able to move in it, that you can find great efficiencies and great new ways of doing things. One of the things, though, as the church, I'm preaching, and I'll be talking this Sunday a little bit about the early Acts church. And if you look at it, remember when Peter and John were at the gate, beautiful, and they saw the lame man and told him, silver and gold have I none, and he got up and walked. I'm not preaching. I preached about that miracle last week, but I'm talking about when he got up and started running into the temple and started shouting. Folks got saved. I'm talking about the thousands got saved, but it says that the temple guard and the priests and the Sadducees locked up Peter and John because they were preaching Jesus, and the Sadducees didn't believe in resurrection. And so what happens is that these folks use their political power, their political influence. Remember, they shaped the Sanhedrin court. So they were a court system.
Right.
And they were the liaisons between their government and the Roman government, who was the oppressors.
Yeah.
So here you have these folks using their theology to keep folks bound up and keep them locked up. But God was doing something new. And what I said was, and the thing that hit me was, so here you have this miracle. Sometimes there are things that you just can't ignore. They're too major to ignore, and you have to admit something is going on. And that's what's happening right now.
Wow.
We have to admit something is going on, and God is in the middle of something. And if the church tries to hold on to its power or its position or its privilege, then it's going to be stuck and miss the move of God.
Right.
But we've got to be able to stand up in the move of God and be able to speak boldly and unapologetically, no matter who is against it. We've got to be able to do what God says do in this moment.
Yeah. Oh man, thank you for sharing that. A couple of weeks ago, I text you because you're an activist. Well, you're an organizer, like you said, an activist, and you will send me an invitation for the Black Lives Movement, the Black Lives Matters,
right?
Crossing the
Woodrow Wilson Bridge.
And thank you for inviting me for that. This movement is a powerful movement. And in my research of it, it's the only movement that started outside of the church, outside of the church.
Right.
And I know you're a historian also, because all the other movement was in the church.
Right.
And it seems like after a certain period in time, the church just got on the sideline and I never got involved. But this Black Lives Movement is a powerful movement. How involved are you in, and what's your take on it?
Well, it's interesting because in this season, how you said in the beginning, I once was young and now I'm old. In this season, I find it to be important to utilize our platform to help the younger generation to find their voice. And so say the thing I sent you, we didn't organize that one of my young people, one of my college students who's here in Prince George's County but goes to school in Atlanta at Spelman, she was home, but she saw what had happened down there to the college students. And there was some college young people who wanted to do something here. And they called and asked if we would help them, if we would help them get the word out, etc. And so what I did was I reached out to folks like you and other folks, and they ended up having thousands of people that were there. That they then asked us if we could reach out to, say, the police chief or to the county exec or county officials to get them out. And so by the time we got done, the county exec was there, the police chief, several county council members, etc. So for me, it's how do we use these positions or these spaces? I'm also blessed to be on the board of the Black Church PAC. And so we take the political action committee around a lot of this work. I'm also blessed to be on the board of the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation. And so that we're putting money in the hands of organizers and organizing at a level of trying to move pieces on the national scene and shape conversations on the national scene, etc., while empowering young brothers and sisters right here on the ground and on the streets to be able to do what they do and rock and roll how they rock and roll.
Yeah, wow. So systemic racism,
Yeah. White supremacy.
white supremacy,
Evil.
evil,
Yeah.
all the way. Now, I'm from Trinidad.
Mm-hmm.
We run Trinidad. They, you know, yeah, you know, yeah, So when I first came to this country, I really had to, and now I'm a citizen. I had to get that citizenship because I don't know what was going to happen with that White House administration.
Yeah.
I got my papers and stuff. And I'm so glad to see the Supreme Court, kept the dreamers here.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? But I have really tried to dive in to this whole systemic racism
Mm-hmm.
and white privilege. And for you who were born here, grew up here, and a black man, and some people like, I just don't understand what it's all about and what's the hype. Can you explain it?
So white privilege is what it means. Well, let me give it. So when people are like, wow, why is everybody so upset about police issues? That doesn't really happen. But when you walk into a room of young black men and women, and about everybody in that room can say, oh no, I've been pulled over. Oh no, I've been snatched up. Like I can talk about being snatched up in New York because I was a black man in a black coat. And the task force jumped out, snatched me up, thought I, reached down and felt a bulge in my pocket and screamed gun. And I had to tell them no. And at that point, what I had to do in Harlem, right up the street, I went to Union Theological Seminary at the time. What I had to do was I had to make sure they knew I was connected to good white people. And so as they snatched me up, as they got me hemmed up, I had to say, I am a student at the Union Theological Seminary.
Wow.
If you look in my pocket, you will see my identification. And because I was connected to white folks, then they checked and they're like, oh, okay. And you know what they said? Next time, don't be so nervous. One, to presuppose there's going to be a next time.
Wow.
And two, to say you should just get used to being snatched up and don't be so nervous when you. And the thing is, that's not the only time I've had guns pointed at me by police outside my own house because people thought I couldn't live there. This was years ago. This wasn't even no major, huge house. This was like my first house, and the police is sitting outside the thing, and I walk out, and they got the gun pointed at me, and I'm sitting here like, what in the world? I'm moving in. It's that kind of piece in which you have to live with the practical understanding that the structures of this nation are implicitly not set up for you. And they're set up for others, and other folks can walk around just like everything is cool and everything is all right, and there's nothing to worry about because for them there is nothing to worry about.
Wow. So you have to always be living with your head, you're looking
always. Yeah, at all times. So people ask me, so I have a sports car, right?
Right.
You got a sports car, I've got a Corvette. So I've got a Corvette, and everybody asks me, man, how fast do you drive it? How fast do you drive it? And I tell them, I don't drive that thing fast. They said, no, you got to drive it fast. You got a fast car. And I said, no, because when I first got it, I had one previously, an older one previously. I said, when I first got my first one, I got pulled over 3 times in my first 2 weeks of having it. Not because all of them were like 35-mile zones. Not because I was driving fast, but because I was a black man. Back then I had cornrows. I was a black man with cornrows in a black Corvette. And I was just getting put. And so I learned to drive slow, even though my car can go fast. Because I understand what it's like to be a black man in America. And so therefore, my members talk about me because they're always passing me on the highway. Because they say I drive like I'm driving Miss Daisy.
Wow.
I drive a fast car slow because I know what it's like to be a black man in America.
Wow. Lee, if you think we had to stomach what happened with George Floyd, and you feel like, okay, we protesting, we moving, and then Atlanta happens.
Yeah.
How did the Atlanta of the loss of a life of Mr. Brooks, how did that one affect you? And what do you think it is affecting or doing to young black men?
So, and I think it's important to think about not just what it's doing to just young Black men, but young people in general, brothers and sisters. You got our sister Breonna Taylor.
Gosh,
Um,
yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like, so you have for Black people in America, period, it's rough. Just for Black people in America, period, dealing with police is rough. And so for me, if I'm honest, the losses hurt, but it's almost like in the late 80s when I grew up in the DC area, and DC was the murder capital.
Okay.
And I lost more friends than I got fingers and toes to count. And after a while, they hurt, but you still had developed a certain numbness to a point.
Okay.
To keep on kind of doing what you were doing, because if you didn't, you would just collapse from just all of the loss you have. So for me, all of it continues to push you to keep doing the activism you do.
Right.
To keep organizing the way you do. To watch what messed me up about that one was to listen to the conversation with them beforehand.
Right. Right.
And to think of it within this I saw a meme on Instagram that talked about the fact that the Dylan Roof, the gentleman who went into Mother Emanuel, and which was 5 years ago on this Wednesday, went into Mother Emanuel and killed 9 people. White supremacists went in and killed 9 church folks who just had him in Bible study. They took him to Burger King. They brought him some Burger King, right?
Right.
He's a mass murderer,
Right.
and he gets Burger King.
Right.
And this brother ain't bothering nobody. He wasn't driving at the time. He was asleep.
Right.
He was asleep in the car. He was asleep in the car. And you can't tell me that they couldn't have found a way to get him home. Right? Instead, he ends up getting killed outside of a Wendy's. Dylan Roof killed 9.
Right.
And he got treated better by the police than this brother who had done nothing. They could have found that there was no reason for them to treat him the way they treated him. And so in that, I think that's the challenge and the pain of it. And the pain of the situation, the pain of looking, and you can just feel that pain.
Yeah.
But it's such an overwhelming pain.
Right.
That it causes you, like I said, like I was in the late 80s, early 90s, such an overwhelming amount of just cumulative grief that it caused you to just walk in a steady state of grief and almost numbness.
Wow. Hey, everybody, I'm talking to Pastor Tony Lee. You get a chance to send in your question. Y'all can shoot your questions in. I'll ask him and he'll give it to you guys. So this is a special day, a powerful day, Juneteenth. And, it's also Sickle Cell Annual Day, and give a shout out to all the sickle cell survivors. I have a family member who's dealing with that. So he's 5-year-old. He's a young Black little boy and stuff like that. And he's out of this world right here, man. He's going to change. He's going to do something. But it's also Juneteenth. And we were trying to make this a national holiday for a long time. And I'm just even, for many people, this is taking the time and understand Juneteenth is really this year. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I was listening to somebody, they say like 2020 is like God. You know how when you and your brother might have got in trouble and your mom said, y'all go to your room? So I heard somebody describe 2020 is like God was like, all of y'all ain't doing what I need y'all to do.
All y'all go to your room.
Go to your room, and when I finish fixing this, I'm gonna tell y'all when to come out. So he said the Baptists to their room, the white, everybody is like into their room, and God's just doing God's thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So Juneteenth, how do you process it, and how do you honor it?
So I honored it today with service. And so we had a grocery giveaway. So we had a grocery giveaway, and we're able to give out about 1,000 boxes of food to 500 people, a box of dry goods, a box of produce. And so, yeah, so I usually process kind of these kinds of moments with service, with looking at what are pain points in our communities, where are areas of need, and then kind of organizing our folks in our church around that kind of a piece to be of service in the midst of it all. And I think that's one of the best ways. The other thing that I've been doing to celebrate a good friend of mine, Kezia Williams, she has this thing called myblackreceipts.com. And really it is saying to go and to buy black. On purpose. Go and buy black on purpose, and then send your receipts so that you can show your receipts so that people can know that you actually did it. Because a lot of us talk a good game, but we haven't walked a good game. And so, so that will be another way of which I'll be doing that. I just got back a little while ago from our grocery giveaway, and so and I'm celebrating by talking to you, one of the greatest great black preachers in the world. And so I'm celebrating it because I think it's also important to be able to have friends and colleagues and collegiality in which you can come and you can share a platform and just chop it up and be able to do that. And so I'm sharing it kind of in those ways.
Yeah. Somebody asked, why is it taking so long to acknowledge Juneteenth? Why you think it is? And my bank closed today, and some had the day off today, and had half a day off. Why do you think it took so long? Because Juneteenth to us is 4th of July, correct?
Right. So what happened is stuff had to burn. Folks had to get scared. They needed to fear God. So I need us to be careful in this moment, though, because what's happening in this moment is people are acknowledging a lot of things.
Yeah.
So they're acknowledging holidays. Oh, come on, y'all can have this day off. Boom, boom. They're talking about, we're not gonna have Aunt Jemima syrup. We're gonna rename Aunt Jemima syrup. We're gonna rename Miss Butterworth. We go, oh, that's bad, right? And so they're doing all these kinds of things, but they're still not doing the central thing around systemic racism and policing. Right. And so it can be no Aunt Jemima syrup, and we can celebrate Juneteenth as an official national holiday. But if we don't get the movement on radically reshaping the policing in this nation, then it's going to be, and what they're hoping and what they're depending on is to wait us out a little bit. And we can give y'all just a few things. I call it performance stuff. If we can give you some performative stuff, if we can give you some symbolic stuff, if we can get enough police to just take a knee with you during a rally, if we can get enough folks to do some of this kind of stuff, it will be okay, right? And then they're hoping, and if we can let the NBA get started and the football season get started, right? If we can get the sports back, and get y'all kind of back and not at home from the COVID, then y'all can simmer down. Y'all ain't going to be as just looking at this. And we don't have to do systemic change. But the only way you can deal with systemic racism is by systemic change. You can only deal with institutional evil by institutional transformation. And they know that. And the thing is that they're trying to wait things out, hoping that we never get to the root of stuff. And so Bishop Michael Blue, we were in a conversation, and Bishop Michael Blue in South Carolina, he said that it may get some of the fruit, but it may not get the root.
Wow.
Right? And so you may get some of the top level stuff, some of the stuff that you see, but if you don't get the root, then you can get the fruit, but that's just for that season. But if you don't get the root, then the next season, that fruit gonna grow again. And you're going to get the same kind of a thing and the same kind of issue. And the challenge is a lot of times we're getting stuff that's on the top level, this performative stuff, this visible stuff, but we're not getting the root. And so there's a need for us to go after the root and not give in and not get weary in well-doing, because we've got to get to the root of the matter.
I had Pastor YPJ on last week, and I think we know it, but it was like a reminder that anything that Dr. King and them brought about change, it was over time.
That's right.
So we are in an instant generation now. So if we don't see it in 2 weeks, we give up, we quit or stuff. But change takes overnight. It's longer than overnight. It takes years.
And it takes multiple tools. So what they understood was that protest wasn't the only tool in the toolbox. So they were protesting, but that was one tool. But they were also doing the behind the scenes activism, but then they were also doing the organizing, but they were also doing the strat. And so they had all these different things, and different people have different tools.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Where we mess up is we expect every leader to just use a hammer.
Right.
And if you're not the leader with the hammer, then nobody wants to deal with you, and you're not a real leader. But you need a screwdriver, you need a wrench, you need a flathead and a Phillips screwdriver. You need it's all kinds of tools that you need for this to happen, and that's all kinds of leaders, all kinds of gifts, all kinds of approaches. And we've got to be able to understand that protest is an important tool. And I thank God for the protesters, because then they allow the organizers to do some stuff on this side, and they allow the strategizers, and when we work it all together, then we can get, because see, we can do all the protests, but if we don't have folks working on policy,
there you go.
Right. Then we're going to be in trouble. We don't have folks who understand how to navigate systems, but then if we don't have folks thinking at a high level on how to dismantle some of these systems, some of this stuff, policy won't change until you dismantle the core of the system. But we've got to be able to navigate all of that, and those are all different tools.
Wow. Hey, everybody, I'm talking to Pastor Tony Lee. I see all your questions. I'm going to ask him. So listen, I said protest, policy, and poll. How to get to the pole.
Yes, you do. And we don't mean the strip club.
Oh my gosh. And we don't mean the pole in the strip club. Now, we might know that. But, Lee, a lot of young people, even some folks say, does it really matter to vote? What's the importance of voting? Do I need to vote? Does my vote really count? What do you have to say to them?
I would tell them elections have consequences. And if you don't believe it, look at 4 years ago. Right. If you don't believe elections have consequences and elections matter, and you look at the kind of leadership we have right now in the middle of a pandemic. You look at what happened since the current leadership has gotten in this country, and the dismantling of many of the services and dismantling of the kind of things that take care of regular people has happened. Elections. We heard folks do all this talk in the last federal election. Oh, no, last presidential election. Oh, I'm not going to vote. Oh, this is all this is all that. And we were like, look, y'all, this stuff matters. This stuff has consequences. And now I want to go to all of them and be like, and not all of them crying, oh, man, I can't believe he's doing this. I can't believe he's done that. I can't believe he's done that. I can't believe he's such a horrible leader. Y'all didn't vote. And elections have consequences, and not just presidential elections, up and down the chain. So if people get upset about police departments, but yet they don't vote and don't realize that usually it's county executives who put in the police chair, who put in the police chief, that they get upset because after a young brother or sister is killed and they don't get charged, but they don't realize that the person who is a state's attorney probably won that election by hundreds of votes, not thousands of votes. And if they had just paid attention to who was going in, and they get upset because of some of these rulings that these judges are making. But the fact of the matter is some of those are elected judges that you didn't pay attention to. And if you didn't vote, then therefore you've got people who are making these decisions and making these verdicts that do not care about you. And you did not put in someone who cared about your interests. So yes, no, elections matter, and they matter. From the dog catcher all the way up to the president, it matters who you put in office.
Yep. And y'all know what my vote stands for. It's for a victory over the enemy. So
I know,
we want to have it. Hey, okay, I see y'all questions. So, when we start talking about systemic racism and police brutality, somebody always asks the question, what about black on black crime? Because you know what happened in Baltimore, right? This lady was announced on the radio station. Great sister from Morgan, and she was on the announcer in Morgan, and goes out and comes back home, and she have a conversation with her brother, and he just pulls out a gun and kills her. Black on black crime. What's your take? Because people always say, hey, when we gonna stop black on black crime?
So I think that folks shape a false narrative. One, that you have to fight one and not the other, right? Two, that I think it shapes it wrong when you talk about black on black crime, when you don't talk about white on white crime, because white people killing white people out here too. That if you look at statistics, that communities usually end up shaping their crime towards their own communities or their own community group. If you look, though, the reality is throughout this nation, for the past about 10 years, crime has been down. We have allowed people to get us in such a hyper mood about it that we think crime is up.
Wow.
Crime has actually been down. In Prince George's County alone, where I'm at, crime has been down over 50% over the last 6 years.
Wow.
But you wouldn't know it by the way folks talk about crime. Nationally, crime has trended down, but we talk about things like crime is up because people make money off of crime. That's why we talk about this whole concept of defunding or reallocating the resources of police departments, because what they've done is they've hyped you up off of crime being up when it's really down so that they could put more money into militarizing police departments, because that's a money-making venture and people are making money off of the industry. So that's the one thing. The second thing is that whatever the crime is in your community, the police are the ones who have the authority and the responsibility to try to do the right thing.
Wow.
And if the institution is shaped that it is not taking care of the community, but it's victimizing the community, then we have to deal with that. There's no, and the roots of policing in this nation are connected to the end of slavery and being able to continue to get free labor out of Black folks, that they would sit there and arrest Black folks who weren't doing anything. They arrest them on these vagrancy laws. They would be off the plantations. They wouldn't have a place to stay. And so because they didn't have a place to stay, because they were newly freed, then they would say, oh, you don't have a house, so you're a vagrant. So they would lock them up, and then they would make them have to work for free. And so it was just slavery all over again. That's the root of policing in this nation. And if you understand that, then you understand that that's why this nation, the United States of America, has the most per capita people are locked up in prison than any nation in the world. In the world. And so then we've got because why? Because the prison industrial complex is a money-making venture, and folks make money off of prisons. And so, so if you're going to just sit there and talk about Black on Black crime, but you're not understanding the real crime is a crime that's happening on Wall Street with these folks who are investing in prisons, and the money that's going to build these prisons, and the fact that they understand that in order to keep the prisons full, they have to also dismantle the educational system so that the education is bad, so that you have more people who end up in crime and going to jails. Then that's the real crime, and that's crime at a high level, or what we call evil, or what we call spiritual wickedness in high places. And so if we're going to deal with it, then we got to deal with not just kind of what's happening amongst us, which we need to deal with, but we also have to deal with what's happening over us and to us, so that then we can deal with what's amongst us.
Wow. Oh, hey, everybody, I'm talking to Pastor Tony Lee. I got about 15 minutes. Keep sending in your question. So, Lee, from Al Green, what's going on? To now, what is our next step? What is our next step? What is our next step? What do you see? What is our axe? What is our axe? Because I think we need a new civil rights bill. That's what I call it, a new civil rights bill. But what do you think is our next step? And if we were to ask for something, what are we asking for? People say no justice, no peace. What does that look like?
So I think that is a multi-layered answer. If you ask me just one thing I had to say, I'd say reparations. They owe us and they need to pay. I'd say reparations. I say this country owes us and they need to pay, because the root of much of what we're dealing with and the disparities we face connect to economics. The fact of the matter is this nation was built off of free labor. The fact of the matter is that even where we live is because of redlining, in which they put us in certain areas, put other folks and white folks in other areas. Those houses appreciated. They kept our houses low. And so therefore we could never build the kind of wealth we need to build the kind of institutional wealth that we need to have. And so there's a need for us. But if you're talking multi-layered, so if you had one big thing, I say reparations. They need to give it. They need to cut us our check. They need to run me my money, huh?
You get your $1,200 check.
Look. And the thing is, and here's how the game is run, right? They'll send all of us a $1,200 check, right?
Right.
And then all the major companies and corporations are getting billions.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's all a big money grab. And the thing is that what they'll act like, and I used to not talk reparations as quickly. I'd be like, oh, there's not the money for it, blah, blah, blah. If there's anything the pandemic showed us, is they can find money when they need to find money.
What?
Right? When they need, they could have been handled issues around the education system. They could have been handled, like all these issues we're dealing with about fairness could have been handled if you just used some of that pandemic money that they found, right? They found pandemic money and tossed up trillions of dollars to deal with the pandemic, and they did that like it was nothing. There's the need, but if you're asking me at a different level of some of the other things that need to happen, one, that we do need a radical reshaping of policing in America. One, we need that. I was blessed to be in the room actually when President Obama announced his reshaping, I forget the exact name of reshaping policing task force.
And can't wait.
Huh?
8 can't wait.
And so that came out of that.
Okay.
That came out of that. But I was actually, when he was in office, I was actually in the meeting when he announced the task force he was doing. This was after Ferguson. And he announced the task force to look at the radical reshaping of policing in America. And so that's important. So we have to look at that. But we also have to deal with education in America. We have to deal with these issues of inequity, right?
Yeah.
We have to look at health disparities. We got to deal with that. We got to deal with healthcare. We have to deal with health, but we also have to look at food insecurity right now in America. Right now, our folks in Prince George's County is supposed to be the most affluent Black county in the nation, and we've been giving away food about 2-3 times a week now.
Yep.
And people start lining up 2-3 hours ahead of time every time. And I'm talking about, you'd be amazed at even the kinds of cars that are coming through.
Right.
I'm talking about you looking at Benzes and Range Rovers.
Yeah.
To get groceries because people are food insecure all over the place. And so we've got to deal with that stuff. All these this economic disparities, if you look at the wealth gap, if you look at the technology gap, like we have to deal with those kinds of pieces. But a lot of it is connected to the fact that fundamentally we need a move in economics in this nation, in our community. And we've got to address what's happening economically and how the game is rigged against us.
Wow. Y'all, he's giving us some serious stuff. I see all of they going crazy on my platform. We do food distribution on Thursday and Saturday.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I know how that is with that.
Right.
With that line. So it's unbelievable. As we're gonna switch subject because y'all know how we do it. Where do you see the church in 10 years? What do you see?
Good God Almighty. So it's going to be a couple of things. If major denominations don't utilize this moment to shift, then we may see a radical shrinkage in mainline denominations.
Yeah.
And we've already seen a shrinkage, but we may see a shrinkage that makes the previous shrink look like it was the glory years. So that's one. I think that what we will see, I think that we are going to see a readjustment in our theology.
Yep.
Right. I think that we had ill-equipped people to deal with pandemic because our theology was so much on prosperity that we had forgotten to teach people about how to deal with hard times.
Yeah.
Right. And so we had anemic Christians who could only deal with situations when things are going good, but couldn't deal when rough times come. And so our churches right now are pivoting and trying to figure out how to shape something. I think that we are going to be pivoting from out of a praise theology.
Yep.
Because we may not even be able to church the way we used to church. Right. we may not even be, I mean, we may not be able to do some of the things we used to do in public spaces. And so
Right.
I think we're going to be shifting our theology. And I think that the churches that are really going to be strong are going to be churches that learn how to deal with people's pain,
Yep.
churches that deal with need, churches that look at what the needs of community are, and look at how to meet needs. So something we learned as a church in this moment is that, so we have our online services, and I shared this with you when we were talking the other day. We have our online services on Sundays, but also at the same time that we pre-tape our Sunday services.
Right.
We do our 8, 10, and 12 online, and we
Yep.
got our teams in there in the chat rooms, they're engaged and blah, blah. But at 10 o'clock, we're also doing grocery giveaways.
Right.
We realize from an ecclesiological framework for us, what is the church, is that we were in service online and of service in community at the same time.
Right.
And what I realized is when we go back, we have to keep that going.
Absolutely.
And so even though we'll have church service, we're also going to have to still be of service. And for us, the best way to express it is going to be at the same time.
Yeah.
That we'll have one team that's in the service and one team that's out in the community.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we'll be able to navigate these kinds of things in such a way. And I think that places or houses of worship that are able to deal with, because see, when we come out of this pandemic, there's going to be a level of hurt we haven't seen in a long time. There's going to be a level of unemployment. There's going to be a level of a level of mental health stuff that we got to deal with.
Yeah.
I mean, like all of this stuff we're going to have to be dealing with, and churches are going to have to be shaped. So churches are going to be more what we used to be. We were like community centers back in the day. We were the center of community. We were the place where people came, where
Right.
their needs were met, where they were trained, where they were grown,
Right.
where they got skill sets, and that's what church at its best is going to look like as we move forward.
Sam Chan said, I had him talk to my leaders. You know Sam Chan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he said the gun is still loaded.
Wow.
The bullet. He said the gun. He said no. He said the finest time for the church has not yet arrived yet.
Wow.
It will be after the pandemic.
That's right.
Knock me out. Somebody has a question for you. As pastors and leaders in the nation's capital, what do you the people and faith believers to make and demand change for the next generation? What do you use to demand change for the next generation? Seeing that you're pastor in the nation capital, White House is in your backyard.
And so for myself, and I shared a little bit earlier, I'm in a couple of organizations that do this kind of work. The National Coalition on Black Civic Participation, in that organization is Black Youth Vote, the Black Women's Roundtable. I deal with the Black Male Initiative. And so we do a lot of civic engagement, but also just engaging with the power structures, whether that is from the president to the Congress to all the way down. And so it's navigating all those folks. For Black Youth Vote, with Black Church PAC, do similar kinds of work, and that is navigating with the AME Church. I am the chair for the Second Episcopal District of the Social Action Committee. And so therefore I do that same kind of stuff right here. And so whether it's going and having the conversation directly with the leaders here, whether it is organizing the protests, and so we have helped to organize some of the protests, etc. It ranges, it matters, like I said, with what tool you need in the moment.
Right.
And the other thing is I'm also on the board of visitors for the Howard University School of Divinity. And for me, that is the importance of training a new clergy in this kind of a setting and in this kind of a place, and putting the things in place to train and grow a whole new generation of faith leaders to be able to meet this moment. And so those are just a couple of the personal ways and things that I'm able to do in this season.
I said when Noah, before the flood, Noah built an ark. After the flood, he grew a vineyard.
Wow.
He was a builder before.
That's right.
When he came out, he's now a gardener, or he plants, a farmer.
Right.
So Lee, when you come out personally, when you come out of this, you went in one thing, because it's not only society changing, the culture changing. Have you seen you changing also?
Good God. Well, one, and I say this not to say I'm any different, because every preacher I know has said this: I've been working harder than I ever worked in my life on this thing. Good God Almighty. One. I think that's it. I do think, though, there will be a time of really personal introspection.
Yeah.
That I've had to look at my leadership in this season, and look at the pandemic alone exposed a lot of things. It exposed your strengths and exposed your weaknesses.
Yes.
And it caused you to have to grapple with it all, but you had to grapple with it all real quick and real fast.
Yes.
And so I think that in the midst of all of that, I've seen some areas of needed growth. I've also seen some areas of great strength. And I do think that coming out of this, one, I'll be much stronger. Two, I think coming out of this, that my leaders will be more empowered.
Yes.
And I believe that even the way the churches will be shaped coming out of this, that they will be less pastor centered, and they will be leader centered, and the people will have it. And I thought I was already doing a good job of that.
Yeah.
I already had it going on, but it wasn't until now that I realized, no. But now, like watching how the leaders of the church have just grabbed a hold of stuff and just moving it and taking care of their cells and taking care of their ministries, and it's been an amazing thing to watch. But it showed me a lot about me.
Okay. All right. These are 3 minutes. You're just going to rattle up question. It's one answer question. Y'all, we got 3 minutes to go. So what is your Beyonce or Rihanna?
Beyonce.
Okay. You think Beyonce? What's up with not Rihanna?
Well, no, I guess I don't know. And actually, I'm not as young as I used to be. And so really, I was going to be like none of them. I can't tell you either of them real. So I had to think of like which one song I could really tell you. And I realized that I'm a little, even though I'm on a hip hop station, I don't just know artists anymore. It's horrible because I used to know everybody, and I used to be like the most plugged in. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, so your church is known for the go-go church. So
yeah,
give them some go-go-ology. What's up with the go-go?
All you have to do is watch TV1 this Sunday. This Sunday will be the Go-Go Music documentary on TV1. I believe at 7 o'clock this Sunday. It's going to be bananas. I just had DJ Cool at our last food drive, not the last one, but on Tuesday when we gave away hot meals. I had DJ Cool, the brother who hit Let Me Clear My Throat. We had him out there with us, rocking the ones and twos. It's going to be amazing. Go-Go is not just a music, it's a culture in this region. It's a lifestyle, and it's what we all grew up in, and it's a gift that DC and the DMV gave the world. Y'all check out TV1, the Go-Go documentary. You'll learn all about it, and then y'all come check me out on any of my stuff, and you can see some Go-Go right on any of my pages right now because we rock.
Give them your pages. Tell them how they can follow you, all that good stuff.
At Rev Tony Lee everywhere. At Rev REV Tony Lee TONYLEE everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. At Rev Tony Lee. Our website is hiphopenation.com. hiphopenation.com.
Well, y'all know we're gonna have to ask. Hey, what's up, George Sarand? You know we gotta ask him the question: are you a better singer or are you a better dancer?
Am I a better singer or dancer?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't sing, so I got to be a better dancer. But my best dancing is if there's a go-go beat, because I got a mean two-step. Yeah, I'm all right. A hip-hop dancer, I'll be all right. But if it's some go-go music somewhere, then I can get down with the get down. But I can't sing at all.
And who's your number one go-go band?
Junkyard, JY Till I Die. Junkyard Band. Shout out Bugs, all of them. JY Till I Die. Hey. Shout out to Big Tony though, Trouble Funk. All of them are members of my church. Big Tony, Bugs from JY. Yeah, so we got all them cats. But yeah, I'm JY Till I Die. Southeast, baby.
Southeast.
Southeast.
Ooh, you deep into DC. I was in Southwest, so I was on the borderline. But when you in Southeast, you in
Southeast, baby. Southeast.
Oh my goodness. Tomorrow I'm following something, the poor man protest virtual with Reverend Barber, you know him?
Yeah, Reverend Barber, and the Poor People's March,
Yeah. And so I think I think the president's still doing his thing.
The president is, amen. God bless Reverend Barber. He's doing his thing.
Isn't he doing his thing?
He's a bad man.
And I think there's a new movie out. Is it Just Trouble? I'm trying. John Lewis movie. I think it's this week. I saw him mentioning it.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, I got to check that out.
Yeah, man. Thank you so very much, everybody. I got Pastor Tony Lee, one of the baddest preachers on the planet, activist, organizer, the whole 9 yard, my friend, colleague in the ministry. I'm so proud of you. You've been doing any writing, any book coming out, anything we need to look for?
I've been working on this D-Minute I need to get finished writing, and I've been doing some personal writing. Yeah, I'm working on the D-Minute, Gordon Conwell and church planting and multiplication. I'm actually running for connectional office in the AME Church. I'm running for the executive director of church growth and development in the AME Church. And that vote would have been a general conference in July, but now it's been pushed to next July. So you just keep me in your prayers as I'm trying to let the Lord use me at a denominational level. And sis, let me say, I'm so godly proud of you. I mean, like folks don't know, we go back, like we go youth ministry. I mean, like we go back. And I am just so godly proud of you, how the Lord has been used to, so glad to see what's happening at Victory. And I'm just so godly proud of you. And you keep on moving. And I'm just so glad to see how you're developing. I remember at your 50th birthday party and how you set it up. Y'all ain't never seen a party till y'all seen her throw a party. It was one of the baddest parties I ever seen in my life, ever. And so I just want to tell you how proud I am of you, sis, and love you. Just
proud of you too, man. Thanks a lot. Everybody give it up for Pastor Tony Lee. Make sure you follow him on all his social media platform. Anything we can do to support you, anything you need us to do, just holler at us. Thanks again, man.
All right, bless you, sis. Take care.
All right. Hey, everybody. Thanks again for joining us. Wow. Wasn't that amazing? Wasn't that amazing? I appreciate y'all. Y'all be safe, be strong. Continue to stay in tune, support who you need to support, and please, whatever you do, don't forget to always be you. Be authentically you. Be the real you. Be the strong you. Don't apologize for you. And hey, Lisa, thank you so very much. And let's remember to be finally me on Friday. All right.
Yeah.
See y'all next week, Pastor Jamal Bryant.
Promise I won't keep you lost out at all. You ever felt as if you didn't measure up?
Yeah.
Like what you had to offer wasn't good enough.
What?
Been listening to them lies that had you switching up. If I can't truly be me, it isn't love. So I won't let your stand.
Make sure you guys subscribe to my YouTube channel. Go to my YouTube channel and make sure you subscribe. Next couple of weeks, I'm going to go live on my YouTube channel. All right.
No, that ain't no chip on my shoulders. I'm simply saying that I ain't your cup of tea to drink sodas.
What?
That's right. It's finally me and I'm bolder. So the counterfeit relationships, I won't lose sleep. I'm really me for real.
What? You're welcome.
My life is good to be free for real.
Have a great night.